I'm Shannon Eller, the instructor of record for MFT Ethics and Professional Issues at Brighter Tomorrows Consulting Institute. Welcome to this class. This is one of our beginner courses for the Georgia Composite Board Marriage and Family Certification track. And we are very pleased to be part of this procedure with you, your process, your journey. We want to assist you on this path. Today, what we will do from the Woody and Woody book is do Module 1 from Chapter 1 in this text. This text is titled Ethics, Professionalism, and Decision Making, a Theoretical and Practical Perspective. Bear in mind that in addition to this video lecture, there are also printed lecture notes at your disposal in your online classroom. So, a couple of things that I want to mention from page 1 in this book is that ethical decision making processes confront every MFT clinician. Ethical issues and dilemmas are not clean, they're not clear-cut, they don't particularly fit into the codes. Please access the AAMFT Code of Ethics as well as the ACA Code of Ethics provided for you in your resources so that you have a working knowledge of what the codes say and which code possibly would apply to a situation that you're facing. Now in this class with the fictional case analyses as well as in real-time practice. So page 1 discusses in the second paragraph that as marriage and family clinicians have expanded their client base, the range of emotional, behavioral, and interactional problems with complex family, mental health, societal issues create complicated, extremely complicated ethical and legal constraints. One thing to consider about ethical and legal written codes of ethics and codes of law. The legal code is designed to keep you out of jail, to keep you from committing civil or criminal offenses. Those things are necessary that you have a working knowledge of what the Georgia Legal Code requirements are. The ethics codes are a written body of knowledge for you to know what's necessary to maintain your licensure and to stay in practice, to avoid a cease and desist letter. Both sets of codes, both legal and ethical, are bare minimum standards. Neither are designed to be virtue ethics, moral ethics, aspirational ethics, or principle ethics. Neither are designed for you to do above and beyond the calling. Abiding by written codes at the minimum standard is not where we're aspiring to be as clinicians. We're looking to go above and beyond to the spirit of the law, to what is right when no one is looking. But for the purposes of this chapter discussion, we're going to go over the basics. Please remember, though, as professionals in our field, that we are proud to be virtue, principle, moral, aspirationally driven in our ethical delivery of services to our clients. So page 2, and one of the things that we're going to do in this is I would refer you to page 2 and 3 with the discussion that Woody makes of what causes a client to be involved in something that you might need to know as a clinician is shadowy, something to be concerned about, what the professional guidelines for you as a clinician may be. On page 3, toward the bottom of the page, I want to read to you Kuchar and Keith and Spiegel. I would also urge you to look at the ethical decision-making model, both the Word document that is a one-page decision-making model for your review, as well as the 3 articles that are in the online classroom. The one article written primarily by Catone is an overview of ethical decision-making processes. The one written by Garcia and Cartwright is a transcultural overlay for every ethical decision-making step For general populations, they offer a transcultural overlay so that as clinicians, we can be culturally competent and sensitive, that we can practice from that aspirational view. Garcia and Cartwright discuss the fact that we should be collaborative with our clients, that we should be constructive in nature from their narrative where they're coming from, that it should be an integrative approach, that it should be a structured approach. It should be a rational approach based on common sense. So please compare those two articles and those models and be familiar with those so that you can access those when you're developing your case analyses. Secondly, I want to speak a little bit to the multicultural component. If, as a clinician, we decide to be multiculturally competent when someone with different skin color, different hair texture comes into our office, someone who has an accent, someone who speaks a different language, our clients are going to know and recognize this as being less than genuine. They're going to see this as artificial and fake. If we look at the cultural continuum, age, sex, gender, sexual orientation, faith system, race, culture, ethnicity, disability versus ability, and we look at all factors, we're going to acknowledge that everyone who walks into our office is culturally diverse from us on some level. Therefore, we shouldn't have a multicultural hat that we put on, but we should be prepared to meet each client where they are constructively and collaboratively from a broad, culturally continuum approach. Knowledge, awareness, and skills, the three main tenets of a culturally competent practice. We can gain knowledge, we can acquire knowledge, we can raise our awareness, we can learn skills, but sensitivity and respect are not things that can be learned. Those things have to be inherent. And those are the things that your clients from minority populations will readily see, understand, respect, and relate to. Please immerse yourself in the culture of the clients that come in. Have items in your office or in a classroom or any type of setting that you have that will speak to your client's particular race, culture, ethnicity, identity, so they feel comfortable and welcomed with you. Secondly, the Kuchar and Keith Spiegel models are there in the Catone article for you to review. You're asked in your case analyses to use those ethical decision-making models as one of your steps of the decision-making process. Please be familiar with it. Those are there in the online classroom under resources. Page 4. On page 4, you're asked to look at the 7 functions of most ethics codes. The reality is that regardless of who has formulated an ethics code, the LPCs, marriage and family clinicians, the social workers, group workers, supervisors, most ethics codes speak to the same basic principles. The foundational principles do not change dramatically. Autonomy. Your client has the right to choose without imposition of our personal values. They have the right to choose poorly. They have the right to choose to continue to use drugs, to continue to commit crimes, to fail to comply with their defects case plan or their supervision, probation supervision plan. They have the right to abort their children. They have the right to choose or not choose invasive medical procedures. Irrespective of our own personal belief systems, they have the right to choose the direction their life will take. Our job as a clinician is to process options and consequences and to assist them along that journey, but to never choose for them. The second foundational principle of beneficence is to do your client good. Do things that are in their best interest, that will help them. Not from a paternalistic, I know better than you approach, but things that will help them make pro-social choices if they so desire. Failing to provide beneficence, or in addition to practicing from a stance of beneficence, is non-maleficence. If you, at very least, avoid doing them harm. Honesty, and fairness are embodied in the principle of justice. Our clients come to us, we owe them honesty and we owe them fair treatment, equitable fair treatment, regardless of any other factor that presents itself. And the last one, which is fidelity, embodies truthfulness and faithfulness. Being truthful with the client, but being faithful also to the client, the community, the practice, the profession. If you see yourself in a parallel process as a counselor with your client and you see a spiral upward and a spiral downward, above the clinical relationship between client and counselor and is the relationship with the supervisor, the administrator, the agency, or the practice that you're involved with, the profession. Spiraling down is the client's family, the neighborhood, the community. All of those stakeholders have to be taken into consideration when an ethical decision-making model is decided upon. So on page 4 are the 7 functions. And they are outlined by Kuchar and Keith Spiegel, 1988. Promote the welfare of the clients that we serve. Maintain competence. Take steps to maintain our competency. Do no harm, non-maleficence. Protect confidentiality and privacy, which is the #1 ethical complaint brought before the courts and the Ethics Review Board. To act responsibly as professionals, educated professionals, to avoid exploitation and uphold the profession through exemplary conduct, going back to the principles of virtue, moral, aspirational, principle, ethics, above and beyond the spirit of the law versus just the letter of the law. Looking at page 5, the 4 steps to assure that the professional services and decisions are ethically defensible. If you're going to follow an ethical decision-making model, you want to be able to have a rational defense for the decision that you chose. And then to that end is because we do influence the values of others, because there is a power differential, because it is a hierarchical one up, one down situation, we have a professional responsibility to reflect with care the values and ethical theories that we hold. If you look at the ethical decision-making model, the first thing we're asked to do is get the facts to know what we're talking about. Make sure an ethical decisional requirement is even there within those facts. Look at professional literature. Contact professional organizations. Contact legal representation. Go for consultation, someone on your peer level. Supervision, someone above your level, someone that has more experience with this particular issue. Determine what foundational principles, autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, justice, and fidelity have been compromised. Which ethics codes are in question? What does the literature say? Ask people at the professional organizations or the legal department of your own agency. Look at your own standard operating procedures or your own policies and procedures and find out what people who have dealt with this particular issue are saying. Begin to look at options for every single stakeholder, including yourself, what the outcome results would be, what the problems might be with those decisions. Choose one. Ultimately, the way to make the best decision is to run it through a series of tests. And the one that I use are as follows. The universality test. If someone called me and asked me what I did in a certain ethical situation, would I recommend the decision I made to another colleague? The fairness test. If this were happening to me, would I think it were fair? The publicity test. If I have to be on social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, the newspaper, 11 Alive News is outside my door. I am going to be on television trying to defend what I did. Can I make a rational defense of the ethical decision-making model I used and the decision that I came to, and be able to back it up using the steps of a solid ethical decision-making process? The judicial test, if I have to defend what I do in a court of law in the witness stand before the Ethics Review Board to keep myself out of trouble legally, to maintain my licensure, can I say that I arrived at this decision based on this set of criteria and defend it? This piece is extremely important. So, looking at page 4, follow what Woody and Woody discuss with these same principles, following the same idea. Looking at page 6, the 5 components of a model of decision analyses. And the model that you have in your online classroom goes into more depth than Woody and Woody do here. However, with theirs, they say, acknowledge that an action has taken place and a decision is needed. List the pros and cons of the decision you're considering. Structure your decision using a decisional tree to graph your path and subsequent choices. Estimate probabilities and values that will be inherent, and calculate an expected value. This also comes from Cantone and Klaus from 2000. The next step is 3 benefits of using a process of ethical decision-making analyses. And in that, Woody and Woody say that it helps us to clarify our values, to know exactly what we think about it, to find out what the best possible outcomes before we make a decision. It helps to build logic and rationality, going back to the rational model as outlined in the Garcia and Cartwright article that you have. To influence our intuitive decision making, to educate us about possibilities, other contingencies that may arise by our actions. So in all of those things, we have to think these situations through very, very carefully in order to arrive at a defensible decision. On page 6, you will find those things that will help you determine not only what you can do in your private practice, but things that are there that will help you through this course and with the final exam. Page 7 and 8 are the 9 steps to produce a correct, according to Woody and Woody, ethical decision. None is ever clear-cut and perfect. It says, determine that there is an ethical issue. Look at guidelines, the ethics codes, the legal codes, the professional journals. Look at every possible source that might influence your decision-making model. Talk with trusted colleagues. Consult and find supervision. Evaluate rights, responsibilities, and vulnerability of all affected parties, each stakeholder. Generate alternative decisions, brainstorm several. Enumerate the consequences of each decision. Make the decision. Execute it, implement it, and I would say to add a 10th choice, which is to always go back and reassess. If you are looking at page 9, they give you a practical step-by-step guide to integrate ethical concepts into day-to-day practices that may then help you avoid certain ethical decisions and dilemmas that have to be done. Carefully analyze your practice and determine particular potential client problems that may come up. Review your knowledge base. Build your knowledge base. Understand your preferred method, your theoretical model, what values that you hold. Go to classes. Take ethical decision-making classes. Talk with supervisors and colleagues. Have some kind of networking, collaborative support system. Monitor vigilantly your own personal and professional identity. Seek and use formal and regular supervision and consultation from members of the profession that you respect. Become familiar with the legal codes and mandates. Associate with an attorney that you're able to have some informal questions or get an informal legal opinion about. My own practice has an attorney on retainer at all times. It's been very helpful for us with certain issues that may have arisen. If you're not able to do that, at least have some attorneys that you have a friendly relationship with. Look at your standard operating procedures. Look at your routines and procedures that you use daily. Vet them for possible areas that need to be tightened up. Act quickly. Seek professional and legal consultation early in the process. Begin the process of rational analysis. Follow an established model. Keep the ethics codes handy. I would have the AA MFT Ethics Codes and the ACA Code of Ethics from the American Counseling Association bound in my office on my desk. And always verify your facts. Do not ever go off with information that is not verifiable, that is not factual. Gossip, hearsay, rumors have no place here. So I hope this discussion of Chapter 1 with Woody and Woody has been helpful to you. Questions, please call me, 770-468-7424. Email me, Shannon Eller, all lowercase, all one word, SHANNONELLER @Comcast, COMCAST.net. Important for the .net, not .com, for your email to go through. And we're looking forward to working with you through the semester. Thanks again.